What a slap in the eye must have been to them then. I suppose that's why you married me. Because you knew I was dull and gauche and inexperienced, and there could never be any gossip about me.
Gossip? What do you mean?
I don't know. I just said it for something to say. Don't look at me like that. Maxim, what's the matter? What have I said?
Wasn't a very attractive thing to say, was it?
No. It was rude, hateful.
Hello, listening people.
Hello.
Hello, Bartek. How are you doing?
I'm good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm feeling great. It sounds like you're a bit of out of breath. Do you need to catch up? I know you may have gone on a bit of a walk to get here today, so maybe you need to take a nice deep breath in, huh?
Yeah, thanks. While you were saying that long sentence, I was catching my breath.
He was
Now
catching
I'm
his
fine.
breath. Oh my god, Bartek, you're here! Oh, you scared me! Oh,
Well, now Ryan needs to catch his breath, and maybe he can do that
and
while
change my underwear. Because I shit myself from seeing you. Ooh.
Okay, well, you can go and we'll start the episode again.
No, we can just do it here right now. Everyone, just as Bartek gives us the premise of our podcast, I'm just changing my underwear.
Yeah. The microphone's like perfectly blocking your lower half, so
I'll
I
have
can't
to
see
stand
anything.
up though, so it won't
Okay,
block
well,
it for long.
I'll just adjust my body so that it's still like, Austin Powers censoring it.
Yeah.
So this podcast is called Spit and Polish Presents, and the specific name of the show, Pictures Powwow, where we have a powwow about some pictures. Moving pictures, that is. Movies.
Is that what they're called?
I think.
Good.
I think.
Movies.
Yeah. I think they're called movies.
I call them films.
What's that short for?
I don't know. Do you?
Filmography.
Filmography? Yeah. We're talking about filmography.
Filmographical arts.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. The S at the end of films is the end of arts. Yeah. Pictures Powwow. It's a show where every week we talk about a film that has come recommended from someone. One week it's myself. The other week it's Ryan. That's you, Ryan, that I'm pointing at.
Me?
And then the third week after Ryan is, third week, the one that's after Ryan, not 3 weeks after Ryan, because 3 weeks after Ryan's another Ryan one.
If you're naughty, it will be 3 weeks after mine, okay?
Oh dear.
If we have another Uncharted recommendation, it's going to be another 3 weeks.
Okay. The third week in the cycle is the listening people choice. That's everyone in the world that's not Ryan or Bartek. Specifically the two of us in this room.
That'll be next week's discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was a me pick this time.
That's right.
That's right. And we're spitting young gentlemen who happen to be Polish.
And it's spooky month.
We're talking about films that are a bit more eerie, creepy, spooky, gothic, whatever that mood and aesthetic and overall tone of October brings. It doesn't just have to be horror. Because, Bartek and I think it's fair to say we're not horror heads. We're not anti-horror, but we're not like those horror guys where it's like, oh, this week we're talking about, Leatherface. Isn't it cool that he has a leathery face? We're not Alex from the Contrarians, is what I'm saying. We're not going to be like, all right, now here's one going to tell you why this A24 horror scene is garbage in comparison to 1980s gore. And we're not those guys, but we do love the sensation that these type of movies can bring, whether they are direct horror or those ones that just tap into the human psyche and just give you that unnerving sensibility. And I recommended Hitchcock's film Rebecca from 1940. The film Rebecca, if you have not seen this film before, highly recommend that you do. It is available out there. Of course it is. It's a Hitchcock film, and it's his first Hollywood film. It's his first American film, yet it's still filled with British people. Love that.
See, I while watching it, I didn't know or remember, like, oh, was this one of the British ones or one of the American ones? I was sure that it was a British one because there are all these things like, oh, well, he's not working under the Hays Code, so this stuff's fine. And then I finished the film and all the trivia is like, oh, that Hays Code.
And like the producer of this film, it was the producer. He even had a quote on his IMDb. I may have to get it up where he's like Selznick, where he did Gone with the Wind and like so many big movies. And he had a quote from himself, like he had a quote that was basically like, "My job is to make things happen." And I'm like, that's the producer. He may as well just say, "Do you know who I am? Do you know where I come from?" And then he just points to his stack of money and says, "You listen to me now."
Do you know where do I come from?
Do you know where I come from?
Yeah, I read somewhere that apparently back then the auteurs were thought to be the producers. So, yeah.
So this is his quote. "The way I see it, my function is to be responsible for everything." David O. Selznick, producer of Rebecca, Gone with the Wind, Notorious, which would be the next Hitchcock film, with Joan Fontaine, where she would not Notorious, that's Suspicion. But we'll get back to David O. Selznick a little later on because there's some things to say about him. He's a wild little character.
I wish he made Sorority Boy so that he could have made that behind the scenes
thing. But the story of Rebecca, for those who need a bit of a refresher and a little bit of a tantalizing taste, it's a story about a young woman who falls in a whirlwind romance with this mysterious widower. And they have a quick love affair. They fall in love. They get married. She goes back to his manor, and there's the haunting presence of Rebecca, the previous wife. Not
the previous Mrs. De Winter.
The previous Mrs. De Winter. And there's the maid, there's the housekeepers, there's all of these people who keep bringing up how wonderful Rebecca was and how Rebecca was better than you, and it just becomes this unraveling tale of this young woman trying to compete against the legacy of a woman who's no longer here, and her husband is growing more and more and more distant over the course of the events. What's going on? That is Rebecca in a quick nutshell. Again, please check this out for yourself. This is our first time doing a Hitchcock movie. We've never done one on the podcast. I recommended this because I like this movie. I've seen this movie before. I love these type of films. I love your gothic horror of nice, mannered people in gorgeous outfits, in audacious yet decadent houses, slowly losing their minds. I love the innocence. I love Stoker. It doesn't matter. I love the haunting. It doesn't matter when this was made. I just like this type of movie. They just tickle something within me. And I think a part of it is, this isn't like an overt horror film. This isn't an overt like gothic thriller or anything like that. But there is a creeping existential dread, and there is a mystery to all of this. And I think what recurs throughout a lot of these type of movies is that, like, this underlying tension of what do I have to do to get acknowledgement and acceptance. In The Innocence, in Stoker, in The Haunting, in this, and so many others, you have your main character who's often a woman, a young woman who's not accustomed to this way of life, having to try and reconcile with that. And I just find that immediately compelling.
It's like a social form of the fear of the unknown.
Yeah, yes, exactly right. It's a social form of the fear of the unknown. And it's like, you and I have talked about many times over the years, like how often it can be a struggle for me very much of connecting with rich wanker characters. And these films immediately cut through that because it's the main character themselves saying, how can I compete with that? How can I ingratiate myself with that? How can I win that over? And the answer is most likely you can't.
Unless you're the menu.
Unless you're the menu. Well, yeah, and even then it's like you have to dehumanize yourself to such a degree. There's so many films that tap into this in different ways, but I'd seen this before. Only once before have I seen this. My wife introduced it to me because Hitchcock is a filmmaker I enjoy, like very much so, but he's not my go-to guy. He's not the one I watch a lot of. There's a few films that I hold very highly from him. Rear Window, Psycho, Marnie is a particularly good one. Vertigo, great film. But he's not one that I regularly revisit, especially from this era of filmmaking. I think it's just because, in a weird way, he's such a titan that I'm more interested in checking out the ones that weren't titans of their fields in the same way as like the big hitters were. Like that's kind of where I love looking at older films where it's like has some of these great actors and they're working with more off the beaten path filmmakers and material. So Hitchcock, like he is, he has the phrase Hitchcockian. Like you understand what that means without even having to see one of his films. So yeah, that's the history and relationship with Rebecca from my end. But what about you, Bartek? What's your history with Rebecca and or Hitchcock?
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with this one really. I've mentioned multiple times I've only seen Psycho in the past in terms of actual Hitchcock film. I've seen a play of North by Northwest, but otherwise my knowledge of Hitchcock would have just been, pop culture. You mentioned before Hitchcockian people, have at least know the phrase if they don't necessarily know all the conventions of Hitchcockian. I've seen so many of them parodied that it almost feels like I have seen them, but again, I actually have to at some point go out and check them out for myself. Like I remember last year I was covering a media class, and there was a thing where I was like, oh, merge your class with my class and I'll just run the lesson, you just have to exist there. And they were studying like the opening scene of Rear Window or something like that. And, they played the scene and the teacher was talking about all these elements. I'm like, oh yeah, this is really good. I actually have to get out and check this out at some point. Really well made. And I only seen the opening scene of that one. So when you recommended a Hitchcock film, I'm like, oh good, a second one for me to watch.
Another black and white one. Because Psycho's
Psycho
black and
was
white
black and
and
white,
Rebecca's
yeah.
black and white.
That's
Psycho
true.
had, again, Hays Code reasons for being black and white. Blood. A censorship-y, it's a whole, Psycho is, everyone knows about Psycho in some way. There's a whole bunch of backroom dramas. The fact that it was one of the first films to show the toilet in it was a big controversy when it came out. Like, a toilet? No. And it flushed?
People poo on that.
People do pee-pees in there. That's not right. Yeah, sure, a woman getting stabbed to death, that's okay, but a toilet?
We've seen that before, but toilet.
No, toilets. They never even had toilets on Star Trek. Never even used toilets on Star Trek.
Well, yeah, they're in space. Just go
They're
outside.
in space, they just go outside. But you said you didn't know much about Rebecca, but as mentioned, this was a Hitchcock film, so yeah, I guess there was some excitement to see what another one would be, but how did you feel about Rebecca overall?
I liked it a lot. It was good. I really enjoyed it. Because I walked in not necessarily knowing like the big premise of it, and this is one of those films where it's like, oh, there's an iconic villain that's been parodied in a bunch of things, like on a similar level to like Nurse Ratched. I didn't necessarily know what the exact like horror or spookiness was going to be. So it was this element early on of me like waiting for like, okay, when's the shoe gonna drop?
Because it's like a romantic, not comedy, but drama, like a little romance, Hollywood affair at the beginning.
Yeah, like a bit of a classist kind of thing where it's like, oh, this servant lady to this rich pompous lady, and just the rich suitor is, oh, I'm interested in you. They're getting together, having some, quabbles. It's like, oh, is this guy going to be like a monster or something? Once you get to the house and you start to get this sense of like uneasiness, it's like, okay, where's it going to come from? And then just you get more and more scenes at this house, and it's like, oh, this poor lady, she's just really, really struggling here. And you can see the psychological build-up of just everything going on her. And yeah, it wasn't like traditional horror in any sort of way, but yeah, we're getting into the psychological aspects, and I like that build-up.
There is no ghosts. There is no murderer. There is no like man in a mask running around. Even, again, spoilers, people, the husband is seen by the end as a sympathetic figure, even though he's done things or been a part of things that are questionable at best. But you feel for him by the end, as does our main character. But yeah, I thought this would be an interesting one because we've done films like this in the past, but there's been a more direct, like, horror angle, like ghosts or the supernatural, or in Stoker's case, like psychopaths, like running amok, killings, murders. This isn't interested in any of that. It's more interested in purely that psychological deterioration of not feeling good enough. Like,
there's a conspiratorial angle.
There is a conspiratorial angle, but it's even very minor, and I don't know if you would even say it's fully about trying to destroy her. It's more just still dealing with the aftermath of the titular Rebecca no longer being here. Like,
it's like we can say that Miss Danvers is the main antagonist, but it's not like she's orchestrating like every single little thing.
And it's not like you would say by the end of this film, oh, Miss Danvers had a master plan that made all of this happen.
Yeah,
No,
that's what
you
I
could,
mean.
you could pinpoint the exact moment when Mrs. Danvers decides, I'm going to go for her now. And that's when a main character says, get rid of all of this stuff. I'm Mrs. De Winters now. And you can see that's the switch that's flipped. Just like, oh, really? Okay, then. Fuck you. And the war begins. But yeah, this film isn't interested in like, oh, there's this evil Machiavellian scheme. It is about the ongoing consequences of this powerful woman no longer being here and the people still reeling from that. And all of these things that are said and unsaid. And now here's this new figure that's walked into this and they're having to try and fight for their life almost to be understood, recognized, accepted, and no one's really trying to help her out in return. Her husband becomes more and more distant in the middle of the film. Like, he kind of almost disappears.
It's a pendulum.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you got this scene that starts really nice and then it gets like really sad. And then the next scene he's like kind of nice again and then it gets like a bit sadder.
And you get to hear little rumors like how he has a temper. And you're like, no. But then you see that temper and...
you see it throughout the whole film.
yeah, but in the first half, not so much because he's in the schmoozing, woozing phase of wowing her. But even then, in retrospect, when we see that temper, it's still that of a dysfunctional person, but it's one of an understandable, recognizable human being. It's not as if he has a psychotic temper. He just has a temper. Like he admits it, like, I fly off the handle, but it's like when you see him in this movie and when he does it, you're like, I get it. Like, I understand. Like, it's not to such a deranged degree where you would go, why would she stay with him at the end? It's like, well, that's a problem that could be managed over time. But, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, you would still bring it up like, oh, he had a temper.
I guess what I'm thinking of is like there are signs throughout the whole film that like, you know, they're not quite connecting on the same level perfectly. Like I'm thinking of, you know, the really early example of when they're in the car, you know, the beginning part of the film, and she asks him like, oh, you know, why do you want to be with such a plain person like me? You know, I'm boring. I can't remember the exact lines, but it's to that effect. And then he like parks the car and he's like, if you think that I just want you because of da 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 da, you can just get out and, you know, walk away right now. And, you know, you can interpret that as, you know, sort of like romantic thing of like, you know, you should think more highly of me because I genuinely do love you. If you cannot see that, then, you know, that's a problem. But also this woman has been struggling with you, you know, connecting with you so hard that like, this is just another thing to like stress her out.
But this is some of the masterwork of this film. Is it leans in at the beginning of that 1940s comedic delivery. Because Laurence Olivier, when he does that moment, and it's like the way it's paced and the way it's played out, it's almost like in those old-fashioned romantic comedy things where it's like, oh, I'm going to pull over the car. And I'm like, golly gee, you think that? Like it has that ring of like, this is still a moment of like lightness, levity, where it's like, when you look back, you can see how this is another little wedge between the two of them, her insecurity and his brashness. But in that moment when it's playing out, you're like, oh, this feels right for this type of era, especially like their fast-talking acting and their mannered clip speech. Like, you watch this film again, it's actually quite shocking, like, how fast they are talking. Like, they are quick speakers in this. Like, they're fitting in 1 million words in a minute. But this film also has such a languid, very plodding pacing style to it. But when you watch it, it's like zippy. Like, everyone's in a zippy mode. And that's why that's why Danvers feels so obtrusive, because she's not. She's the person in this, the only person in this movie who's like still. She's just this imposing presence.
Ultra meticulous.
Doesn't want to take those hands away from being clasped unless she's going to stroke Rebecca's objects lovingly. She barely blinks. That was one of the trivia facts was Hitchcock asked her if she could blink as little as possible, which she does. She rarely blinks. And she doesn't walk. She glides. She doesn't walk. She always is gliding from place to place. And it makes her feel otherworldly, even though she's deeply human. But no, I'm glad to hear that you had a good experience with this film. I was happy to give it on the revisit. I was enjoying myself. I love these performances. Of course, Joan Fontaine as our lead character, who has no name. She is just Mrs. De Winters or Darling.
The new Mrs. De Winter.
Yeah, the new one. But the previous one has a name, Rebecca. Like they get an official, like they get a proper title. Like, but she's just Mrs. De Winter. Joan Fontaine is absolutely spectacular in this. She's nervous all of the time. She's so mousy and flighty. And there was this hilarious bit where, you mentioned it, where she's like, I'm not pretty or attractive. And I'm like, you're gorgeous. It's one of those like momentary disconnects. But then I watched the film enough and she's so frumpy and nervous and kind of just all over the place. I'm like, no, I can kind of see why you would feel this way about yourself and why others could perceive you this way, because you're just such a disaster. She's like breaking things, and it's not like comedic either. It's just like, oh, she's just wound up. She's a very wound up young woman.
It's like every little mistake that she makes, especially once she gets to, the big mansion, is just, another setback on her goal of trying to acclimatize to her new life.
She's still growing up. She's only young. She's only in her early 20s. She's barely experienced the world. And there's even an acknowledgement that he's too old for her. He's like, I should have married someone my own age and let you have someone your age. Like we have different life experiences and I have a different level of maturity than you do. And I'm stopping you from reaching that natural progression by making you try and jump up to my level. Is that fair? And and the movie is asking that throughout the whole thing. Is like, is that fair? That she's having to be forced into this a gilded cage almost, and you can't help but wonder it, but at the same time it's like, man, that looks like it'd be a great life. But at the same time it's like, it's a rich, lavish, privileged life that she gets to live, but it's also one that's filled with these inner little torments, inner disgraces, failures.
Yeah, it's writing an interesting line, because she isn't literally trapped there. I mean, she's literally like second in charge of the place, but just because of her personality, she can't get comfortable there. All of the servants like attempts to make her comfortable just don't seem to work. Like I actually felt a little bit sorry at times for like I guess he's like a head butler guy, like the tall, really old guy. Like he seemed really gentle. He seemed like he was moving at a slower pace for her. And she just still wasn't comfortable with that.
Frith,
yes.
Frith, he was an interesting figure because he did seem caring and whatnot, but then we'll get these shots of him just looking at her. And it just doesn't feel right. Like you can say if the looks are good or bad, but like the shots linger long enough on him just looking at her that makes you not too sure.
Yeah.
Like, is he judging? There's so many great visual storytelling motifs in this. I loved whenever Rebecca was talked about in great detail, like properly great detail, because we don't hear about Rebecca for a good while. Like her name doesn't appear for a good while. She's just the previous Mrs. De Winter. Mrs. De Winter. We get Rebecca eventually as named up, but when they start talking about her, the camera will go away, like just move away and start to reenact the scene as if Rebecca was physically there, but there's no one there. We're just watching the camera like shoot the room as if Rebecca was walking here and grabbing her things and doing all of that as Mrs. Danvers is retelling this event, or as Maxim is retelling this event. You have just it's only like 2 or 3 times that happens, but it like stands out of like, this woman's not even here, but she's somehow in the movie. Like, they never cast an actress to play Rebecca. We don't get flashbacks. We don't get a picture. We don't get anything. We just get told about it, and yet the film, the cinematography, will hijack a scene for Rebecca's presence, even though there's physically no one there.
Yeah, she's got this very divine post-presence in this whole film.
Yeah, she's a tour de force, even though there's no one here now. One What did you think about Joan Fontaine's performance overall?
No, I thought that she was perfect for the. I don't know if audience surrogate's the right word, but we follow her perspective the whole film, and I thought that it was perfect in terms of, showing us how uncomfortable this is for someone that didn't grow up in this kind of world, and we are set up for that with the, beginning chunk of the film where she is working for this snooty, unpleasant woman who always talks down to her, is very two-faced about all her interactions, very judgmental, and even when, she's kind of shown up at the end, she still, gives a little bit of a fuck you kind of thing. Well, good luck with your new life.
Puts the cigarette out on the carpet, like she was putting it out in the ashtray, and then she does like little, oh, fuck you then, and then just like taps the cigarette ashes to fall on the carpet and just walks off, like little snide attitudes from these rich, privileged, civilized people.
Yeah, so you get this promise of like, oh, we're gonna take you somewhere better than that, and it's just very oppressive. The film's very quiet at times. Like the mansion is very big. The rooms are very open, especially that hallway, the dining room, even though there's this giant table there, it's just so big. It feels like you're at a museum, but like there's nothing there.
Oh, and that there's so many rooms as well. There's just so many. She's like, where is the morning room? Like, and there's the West Wing that we aren't allowed to go to. But then you're told, you were always allowed to go there. I was always waiting to take you there. No, you weren't.
Yeah, all the parts of this mansion, are from like the game Cluedo.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh yes, I did it in this room, this specifically named room.
I liked her performance so much. What I thought was also just, again, it's such a fascinating thing is her character has no name. She's not a person in this story, yet she's the most sympathetic, deeply understandable, flawed, and yet human being. And you mention it, she's our point of view. She's the one we follow. But even then, there's still a distance between us and her because she is only Mrs. De Winter, and she is taking so long in the movie to even recognize that that's what she is. So there's so much of the movie, it's like, we don't even know her name. And the importance of knowing a character's name is huge. And like the decision of not giving her one, and yet the film the film in this book is titled after the previous wife who is talked about and who is a personality and who is known by their full name. There's something very potent about that. It does make it feel like Joan Fontaine, Mrs. De Winter, is almost like a ghost in her own story. Like it's almost like she's haunting her own narrative that she's in. Like she's this inconvenience to so many of the people here. There's that great moment where she meets like some of Maxim's like rich society friends, and they're talking about like how she's most likely like a whore, pretty much. Like before they've even met her, it's like a showgirl or
she's like
dancer,
entered the room, they haven't noticed her yet,
and she's just standing there, and it's like they don't notice her for so long, and it's just agonizing. And then when they do, and they know that she knows, he's the husband guy, the colonel or whatever, he still plays it like, she's exactly what I told you she would be. It's like, okay, buddy, you know that, we all know that she knows, but they just don't respect her at all. And Rebecca is such a figure in this world that anyone is less than her when you compare. So yeah, Joan Fontaine really captured that meek yet manic performance. It's like pitch perfect.
Yeah,
in what it needs to be.
You got to be wealthy to have a name.
Yeah.
I actually didn't notice that she didn't have a first name.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Now you're thinking about it, it's like she is only known as an extension of Maxim.
Yeah, when I read when the credits happened, I was like, oh yes, the actress named Joan Fontaine, and she played the second Miss De Winter. Like, oh, whoops. I didn't notice she didn't have a first name. I thought I just missed it.
She is an extension of the man, and the man was an extension of Rebecca. Everyone's an extension of Rebecca. Everyone is in orbit of Rebecca. She's dead. And she almost managed to get her husband sentenced to jail for her murder. Like, without even trying. It just feels like it wasn't, you know what I mean? It's one of those things that's like, okay, she's just that good. She's that bitch.
Even outside of verbalization, you see that, it's almost a symbol at this point, like RW on a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah. What did you think about acclaimed actor Sir Laurence Olivier as Maxim?
No, he was good. I enjoyed him.
Yeah, he's one of the most acclaimed actors in history. The guy him and John Gielgud often pointed to as the actors. He was very good in this. I think he has a difficult job in the movie because he has to come across as, how to describe, you have to believe that there's something wrong with him. You know that there's something wrong with him, but is he a villain? And the movie needs to have the performer be able to ride the line of coming across as, is this guy up to something, or is there just something up with him? And he does that so well. Like I mentioned earlier, his anger and his mood swings, I think, were at the right pitch, where they are abrupt and they are obtrusive and they are harmful, but it's not to a degree where it's like when he explodes at her the first time, you go, well, he's a psychopath. Like, I didn't feel that, but you definitely go, well, that's a side of this person that is ugly. But that's the thing. He's a human being. All of us are. We all have ugly sides. And I thought that his performance was very honest in playing this rich man, especially like at the end when like he gives the big monologue, the big story about like what he did and why he feels bad and like why you won't trust him now and all of that. And it's such a good speech and such a good performance that you are kind of rooting for him to get away with having committed a murder.
Well,
Or
hit in the
manslaughter.
body. Yeah,
hit the body. Well, yeah. In his mind, it's like, oh, I kind of pursued her. But in his mind, it's murder.
Yeah, and in the original source material,
It's
it is murder, but
Yes.
the Hays Code world, it's not murder.
Yes. But in his mind, he murdered her.
Yes, and the film still treats it like that. With me, obviously, suspicious of him from the start, like, okay, what's going to be the twist here? There's definitely going to be a reveal. And he does have a secret. We eventually find out the secret, but also when you get that secret, there's that twist of like, oh, you're not, like, villain conspiring for something, like, really sinister. Like, you didn't, like, you don't find a wife and then, like, murder her in your glee because you love women so much that you murder them, and now it's this main character's turn. It's, you genuinely do love this woman because she is different, and he has that whole speech about, like, oh, this woman that everyone loves that you feel inferior to and, you keep comparing yourself to and it's ruining your life. I actually hated her.
That's the twist. That's one of the big twists, is he didn't love Rebecca. And it's so satisfying that he does love the main character. Like he throughout the whole film, like that is one thing that he's consistent on. Like, you don't need to change your hair. You don't need to change for me. I love you. But because of her own insecurities that are then exacerbated by the circumstances and Mrs. Danvers, as well as all these other people, our main character feels the need to change herself, and it just drives a divide between the two of them. And even after everything that goes on, you don't question that he actually loves her.
It's a very funny, double act of honesty and dishonesty, because the twist was like, oh, no, I was honest all along. I genuinely do love all this stuff. I genuinely do love you. I want this to work. But then the dishonesty, like not giving her the full context.
Because he feels like she won't love him.
Yeah, not helping her, properly acclimatize to this whole new situation. It's like more communication. The communication you're doing, it's good that it's genuine good, but the other stuff, you need that too.
But then it gets worse because she makes these mistakes that just anger him because of her naivete or because of manipulation from outside forces. I really love that scene, and I thought, the use of black and white in the scene is so great. But the moment where he's like, got the footage of their honeymoon that we never got to see ourselves, like this is their honeymoon that happened off screen. But that's a great choice. This moment of them being happy together as a married couple, we didn't get to see.
And there's like,
we get to see it projected on the screen, and that's when they're having their like little back and forth. He fumbles the film and he has to put it back together. Things come in and interrupt it. Then he plays it again, and then
There's some genuine like romance moments
Yeah.
there where she's like giggling at some ducks and like he sticks his tongue out at
Yeah.
the camera at one point.
Yeah. And then they have their little explosive moment of tension, and he's like steps in front of the projector, and now it's all on him, and like he's engulfed in this light, and all behind him is in pure dark blackness, and it makes him feel huge. Like he is now the room itself, God himself, going and looking down on you and demanding why you are questioning his like sanctity of life and like his judgment and his reputation. And it's like a scary moment, but it's all done because a man stepped in front of a projector. That's it. But this is the use of film and visuals and language, and this is the stuff Hitchcock was so good at.
Yeah, when I said before that, he's on like a pendulum, that's the key scene that I point to, where like it starts as like the most lighthearted, happy thing. You're seeing like things from a different toned film, literally in this movie, and then servants come in, drama. She reveals that she did a thing, and he gets very upset with her, and he has a whole monologue about how the marriage isn't working, and maybe it was all a mistake, and it's all one scene.
What I really come to appreciate about Rebecca, especially being able to talk about it with you, is it doesn't overcomplicate itself. The story is very simple, but what the complicating factors are is these in characters' interiority and how that conflicts with their interpersonal dynamics. Because Maxim, that moment there, it's like he reacts that way because one of his driving principles we know is his ingrained legacy-driven need for reputation to be sustained. That's why him and Rebecca had their fucked up marriage, because she would be able to feed his station, his status, his reputation. And there's even a bit at the end where I think it was Jack or somebody said along the lines, maybe it was like the police, like their police friend,
Inspector guy.
Someone said like because of his style of breeding, I think it was Jack saying it antagonistically, like he would be willing to sacrifice everything to be able to keep up his appearances, and also willing to kill for it. And that was like Jack's like reason why he believes that Maxim killed her, was like, he would be willing to do anything for that. And it's like that is a part of this character's overriding principles, but we see how that conflicts with also he just loves this woman for being herself, and that goes against some of these things. And this moment where he steps in front of the projector because she's questioning him or like bringing up like his authenticity, his honor, all of this stuff, it like that goes against one of his core principles, which is like, I am supposed to be this type of man, of this type of family, of this type of breeding, of this type of thing. And it's like, that's so complicated. But when you break down the simple storyline of like the film, that's not the complicating part. It's just how these people feel about themselves and how that makes them feel about other people, how other people feel about them.
Jack's the assistant guy, right?
No, Jack is the lover of Rebecca. The one who was pretending to be her cousin.
Right.
The one who, you're thinking
was
of...
his name Jack?
Yeah, Jack Favel. You're thinking of...
Favel? Oh,
Favel,
right. They kept calling him Favel. That's why I got
You're
confused.
thinking of Crowley. The assistant, Frank Crowley.
Right.
Who, I'm pretty sure we had Frank Crowley, the actor who played him on before, I think. There's somebody... Yes, we had Jack Crowley as the Commodore in the Batman movie. The Adam West Batman the movie. He is the Commodore that invents the thing to like dehydrate people into powder. Like he is the guy that all of the villains are after in that movie. And you liked his performance because he was playing like this over the top cartoon, like I'm a Navy man, and he's there at the UN, and like he was that guy. I just thought that'd be a fun thing. Like we do have an actor we've seen before in this film, but no,
that's neat.
Jack, the romantic rival that was pretending to be her cousin to throw everything off, George Sanders, he was in a bunch of things. He was in the original Jungle Book. He was the voice of Shere Khan, the tiger. But his character, like he he enters strangely because he's like him and Mrs. Danvers have a friendship, and it's like Mrs. Danvers
He and the dog have a friendship.
Yeah, him the dog, and it's like, who's this guy? We've never met him before. Like, who's this? He's never been mentioned before.
And he's got like probably. There's a lot of people in this film that have, like the upper class kind of accent, but his is like the most exaggerated.
That's just his voice too.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, he was the voice of Shere Khan, who just sounded like that. He just talked like this. He had a real.
It's like, cast this guy as a poor man.
Here's the crazy thing. He's supposed to be a poor guy in this too. Like remember, he's like a car salesman. He's like,
yes, that's
trying
right.
to
You're
vie
right.
for getting social grace and power from all of this.
Yes,
he's supposed to be on the same level as the main character.
Yeah, he wants to blackmail them to.
Yeah.
You know what I'd love? I'd love to retire on an island or something like that.
And then they try to teach him that blackmail is also a morally and legally dubious act, and he's like, I'm doing it for right reasons. He's supposed to be a poor guy. But he's still like upper crusty, but
he talks down to the policeman at the end.
Power move. Honestly, power move. Honestly.
Yeah, and the guy that walks by him is Kit Hitchcock. So.
Did you like when we introduced him, how he just found her hiding around the corner? That was such a great moment, because it's like in these movies and in these things, they always never get found out, or they just narrowly escape it, or she walked around and Mrs. Danvers. I just like that he was like, oh, hello, and just turns around, there he is in the huge open window.
Yeah, that's like knee high.
Yeah.
Because he enters and exits the house through that window, and you imagine like, windows high up, so he's got to like, put his hands on, like lift himself up, leg over. Nope, just very casually, like knee high, like, oh, raise my leg over, raise my other one. I'm in. Now I'm out.
Such a funny little moment from him, but what an absurd character, because he comes in, then he disappears. But there's something up with him because he's such an eccentric character, and he's friends with Mrs. Danvers, who has no friends. Like, she's not friendly with anyone other than Rebecca. She loved Rebecca.
He's another element of the mystery. It's like, oh, I'm a relative of Rebecca. Also, don't tell your husband that I was here. And then you don't see him again until quite later into the film.
And then it's truly, he was having an affair with Rebecca. I see. Right. And he was pretending to be her cousin. Oh, I see. Right. Okay. He's friends with Mrs. Danvers. He calls her Danny, which feels wrong. It doesn't feel right that there's just someone calling her Danny. It's just so informal, but that's, he's not from here, so he doesn't have to play by the social grace and etiquette and rules.
She's not meant to have relationships with living people. She's only meant to have a relationship with Rebecca. Who doesn't exist.
She's a Mrs. Danvers.
Yeah, I think earlier this episode I accidentally called her Miss, and then you said Mrs. I'm like, did you get that right? I'm like, oh wait, she was Mrs.
She was a Mrs.
Yeah.
Where's Mr. Danvers? Is he okay?
He's off screen every shot.
His name's Rebecca. She has a type. Okay. You knew about her. You knew about Mrs. Danvers, or you knew this archetype. Was that the one you were referring to, where it's like this has been riffed in pop culture before? You mentioned that at the beginning of this, like
something along those lines. Yeah, it's like I didn't know that this character was in this film, or that necessarily she existed. I thought they were all just like offshoots of Nurse Ratched, or something along those lines. But it was one of those things where you watch it and like, oh yes, I can see this having inspired a bunch of things, and then you read
probably Nurse Ratched.
Yeah, you read a bunch of pop culture stuff, and it's like, oh, this was an homage to that. There was an Abbott and Costello line where it's like, didn't I see you in Rebecca or something like that?
For many people, this is the reason to watch Rebecca is this character and this performance. There's a lot of energy put into what is a very still and stoic performance. There's so much internally happening, and you see it in her eyes. She has these huge eyes, like Judith Anderson. She has these huge eyes, but her character just has this stone-like face, like barely any expressions. And when she does, it feels important when she raises her eyebrows, or when she gives a frown and all of that. And it's so great that this is the beauty of cinema, where the camera's right up there. It's these little expressions that can be so telling. And with a character like her, who has her hands clasped together, this perfect posture, moves like in gliding motions and rarely blinks, that when she does, give a twitch of the eye or an eyebrow kind of raises a little. It says so much more than any dialogue can in this film in particular.
Yeah, it's like, how's she going to react to anything?
And
when she does, it's a big deal.
And it's more eerie or creepy when she's happy than when she's mad, because we've seen her be so cold that when she starts talking about how much she loves Rebecca, it feels gross. You're like, oh, I don't like this. She's smiling now, and she's talking about, like, these underwear were made by the nuns in this place. And it's like, oh, don't want this.
At the end of that scene, like, she's, like, got her up against the wall and just, like, almost face to face.
Mm-hmm. There's that harrowing scene where she turns on that type of charm again to try and convince our main character to kill herself.
Yeah.
That's a scene where it's just like, look at it. It was so easy. And she's not using her, like, cold manner. She's using her friendly. Look at that. Wouldn't that be nice?
Mm-hmm. But then plot happens and whoops.
Almost works. I like that she wasn't in on a huge scheme. Like, she had her own little schemes, but she didn't even know about what Rebecca's deal was.
Even further than that, like, she actually didn't know the big mystery of the film. Like, we talked earlier about how, you know, technically she's the main antagonist, but, like, the reveals at the end of this film are reveals for everyone still alive, basically. There are some people that have, like, some knowledge of a little bit of it.
But they're wrong still.
But no one knew the whole truth until the very end. And when she learns the whole truth, she decides to burn it all down.
And kill herself.
Yeah.
Dancing with this idea of what Rebecca was still. Even though everything she knew of Rebecca has now been challenged, changed, and broken. She would rather burn it all down and die dancing and smiling with the idea of who Rebecca was rather than the reality. And that's what Maxim hated about Rebecca, was Rebecca wanted to project this image and this idea so that way she can get away with doing anything she wanted. And Maxim hated that. And now we get to see it turn even more vile against one of her biggest fans and supporters, which is Mrs. Danvers, and Mrs. Danvers just can't handle it. She just can't handle it, and she has a complete and total break from everything and just loses it and burns it all down. I liked that. I thought it was a wonderful touch where he's driving back from, you know, all the stuff in the plot.
At the end of the film?
Yeah, at the end of the film. And then, like, we have a bit of a time jump and cut around and cut back to him, and he's like, what time? He stops the car. He wakes up his mate. What time is it? It's like, this time. He's like, it's not daybreak, is it? And you can see, like, in where they're looking at daybreaks happening, it's like, no, what is it? It's like, oh, that's Mandalay. And it's like, you know, oh, it's on fire. Then, that bitch set it on fire.
Like, yeah, they're like, it's not daybreak, and then, like, a puff of smoke appears, and it's like, oh shit,
that's Mandalay. And you just know, that fucking bitch burnt the house down. She's just so vile. I love Mrs. Danvers is the thing that endures. Like, this film is great on so many levels, but it's that character because numerous reasons. I mean, an obvious being, we haven't said it aloud, but she's gay, right? Like, that's the feeling. Like, a lot of people have a gay reading on this character, like a very lesbian reading on this character, and this character, for good or bad, is an early Hollywood representation of the wicked lesbian character type, where it's like this woman who's so in love and like this type of thing. It is this thing where you can look it up, like all these tropes. A lot of it goes back to Mrs. Danvers being an early example in film of this type of lesbian character. And I think that is important. Like, even though she's a villainous character, you know, there are some forms of representation that are fun, and it's like the over the top villainous gay character is one that many people do enjoy. Many gay people do enjoy as well, as detailed in many Disney films.
The evil queen from Snow White.
The evil queen from Snow White.
It was funny reading a quote about, like, someone asked the actress later down the line, like, oh, so were you playing her to, you know, be homosexual? And her response was apparently something along the lines of, it's like, no, we didn't think that at all. It was not the type of thing we thought of back then.
Not wrong.
Not
the straights.
Not wrong, but, you know, it's certainly powerfully convincing if you have that idea.
It's hard to avoid, isn't it?
Oh, she's Mrs. She can't
Mrs..
be. Yeah, never mind.
Well, you can still be gay.
No. She's Mrs. She's married.
Oscar Wilde was married and had children. He was gay.
Yeah, but Misters are Misters no matter whether they're married or not. This is a woman.
All right, you get it your way for now. But hi, my lesbian grandmothers. How are you both doing?
Hi,
I know they
I'm
listen.
Bartek. Nice to meet you.
Both married at one point. Hi, guys.
Are they Ms. right now?
I guess they're not married to each other, so there you go. Come on, guys, get married to each other so we can call you Mrs. to defy Bartek's rules. You made the rules. Bartek,
Yeah, but it's modern day
specifically.
now. It's different now.
It's modern day. Oh, yes,
Yeah.
it's no longer the 40s.
If they get married, then you'll be double grandson.
Yeah, I'll get double. I mean, but here's the thing. Mrs. Danvers, she's kind of, even though she's deplorable and all of that, I like her. Like, I like her because it's like, yeah, I do understand on a level, like, the frustration she has of, like, within a very small period of time, he's now moved on and is replacing this woman with this young, like, really young, inexperienced, like, blonde-haired little girl. Like, it is, like, on the surface, from her point of view, it's like, oh, this here is clearly a relationship for him to move on from Rebecca, and he's doing the classic, like, rich playboy thing of getting the young bimbo girl. That's how Mrs. Danvers, like, in a minor way, looks at it as like, you're not of this ilk. You're not of this. You're not worthy of replacing Rebecca. Rebecca was the best. Did you not know that she's the best? Please. You're not Maxim's type.
A bit too pompous for me to like, I guess.
Oh, no, she's villainous. Don't get me wrong, but I just appreciate, like, I enjoyed that aspect. It's like, because you understand where she's coming from,
there is logic.
Still arrogant.
There is logic there, but for me to say that, like, oh, I sympathize with that. I like that. Maybe if the main character was, like, like the fat lady from the beginning of the film. Like if she was the second Mr.
But
Winters.
no, but instead she's a clumsy ditz who fucks everything up for Mrs. Danvers. From Mrs. Danvers' point of view, for a good portion of the film, this is a woman who breaks Rebecca's shit and wants to throw. Like, this is a woman who bumbles and stumbles in, and it's like, I'm a society lady now. I don't know anything about it. You decide.
If it made her sad rather than mad, that I can get behind.
No, but that's the thing. No. I think it would be disingenuous if it made her sad. Like, mad is an emotion that I think makes complete sense. And I know, I'm not saying I sympathize, but I'm saying I do understand. And I think the anger there is one of the reasons why I understand it. Because it's like, from her point of view, we had this too with the Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, where there was the housemaid there, and she didn't like this guy coming in and changing stuff up. And it's like, from her point of view, like, this is a line you are crossing that you shouldn't cross. This is a different set of circumstances, but yeah, and also just, even though she's giving a stoic performance, it's also like one of the most hammy performances in the movie, and you just gotta love it. Like, this is one that's like, oh, I bet those drag queens love this performance.
To be clear, I like the character.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it makes sense, and I like how it's, all structured. It's just that me personally liking her as a person, it's like,
Look,
sympathizing with her.
Hashtag Mrs. Danvers did nothing wrong. The look on your face and me.
Yeah, well, I mean, she burned herself at the end. That could be a sign of retribution, I guess.
Yeah. She was just doing some spring
She's
cleaning.
a great character. I liked her.
Oh, she was so good. What else do you want to discuss about the film Rebecca?
We mentioned that there's the assistant character, Crawley, his name was. I like that scene where I was trying to say the main character's name. She doesn't have one. The main character,
Mrs. De Winter.
The new Mrs. De Winter.
Well, we have Rebecca. We could differentiate them with one has a name and one doesn't.
The poor girl who got married to the rich man. She went into like his little office and was like, oh, can I help you with your work? And like they were kind of getting along on a kind of similar level. And, he had a very sweet little speech to her about, you have qualities yourself that, might even be seen as more important, and, it lifts her up a little bit, but then the scene still ends with, he brings up Rebecca, and the only thing he can say is, like, she was probably the most beautiful person I've ever seen. creature I've ever seen.
Again,
Like a weird,
she's,
like very
she's beyond a person.
Yeah, this kind of very uncomfortable, another sort of pendulum, I guess, going
But
from
she
different
asked for that.
tones.
She's like, honestly, tell me, what was Rebecca like? And all I can tell her was this mythological answer of like,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. But I just want to emphasize, she asked for that. He didn't just come out of that with nowhere. She was not satisfied, Mrs. De Winter, the current one, with the scene just ending. She wanted to know, what was Rebecca? Could you answer this question for me? And he says, if I'm capable, I can. And she wanted to know what Rebecca was really like. And even though they had this moment of connection, he couldn't help but, as you're saying, enter back into that dream like,
Yeah, like
Rebecca is a creature of beauty.
For the main character, it's all these like personality and, good morals kind of thing. But then for Rebecca, it's just, beauty.
Beauty. She's not a person. She's an idea. She's a creature. She's something of a myth. And
even to this person here who was like kind of connecting with her on the most human level so far.
I remember when I first watched this, and I don't know if you had this, I was waiting for the classic like twisty thing of like, Rebecca's alive. And it's all an elaborate ploy, or, Mrs. Danvers is doing this elaborate thing. And it's just so wonderful. Like, no, Rebecca's dead. Like, she's dead. And look, he is responsible in part for her death or hiding her body. And I remember being so exhilarated that how, like, smoothly it transitioned from, like, this psychological tense gothic horror stuff to almost like a procedural drama at the end. Like, we're now getting the local court and like he's being asked to keep his temper down or else you'll incriminate yourself. And like our main character now is having to be complicit in the act of, hiding a body almost. And like, how does that make you feel about her? Like, she's aware of what he did and she's going to stand by him and do all of that. It's like, this is now a new step for our main character. And I just really remember just the gear change from the slow-paced boil of character slowly losing their mind and what's real, what isn't, to now it's like the husband's on the stand having to defend himself, even though he most likely he did the things that they're accusing him of.
Yeah, it became tense in a kind of different way because they were following up on the lead that the cousin/lover guy gave them, and none of them clearly like him, but they're following through on it. And even though it kind of feels like our Laurence Olivier is going to be dead to rights once they investigate all this, he's bluffing his way through it.
Yeah,
like, all right, let's do it then. And we're kind of waiting for like, well, you're heading to your execution basically here.
But he hates Jack so much.
Yeah, and I like that the inspector does too. He's like, look, I don't like him either, but I have to do this. So let's just get this over with. But then there's also this tone of like, they dislike him so much that it almost feels like I think Fritz, what was his name?
Frith?
Jack. I'll just call him Jack.
Oh, yes. Fritz, the housekeeper guy.
Yeah. They kept using the character's last name, and now I can't remember it, and now I just know Jack. Anyway, but yeah, Jack has this line a bit earlier on about how like, you're all against me anyway. And that almost felt like the whole tone of this whole section of the film, where it's like, even if they do find something, it almost feels like they're gonna just ignore it anyway.
Yeah.
It feels like you don't feel like you're winning here, Jack. And then when the truth actually comes out and it's like, even he didn't expect that, it's like, oh my God, that was a real big surprise because it was neither of the two things I was expecting.
But he was still snarky about the outcome, and he had to rub it in everyone's faces that it was not what it seemed anyway. And then he had to tell Mrs. Danvers about it, and he's so like jovial, like, oh, well, just cancer. All right, bye. And you're right, there is a level of like, that frustration of like, he knows that this is bullshit. And he has evidence, and but the thing is, he went about it in the most slimy, self-serving way possible because he's a huckster. He's like a little charlatan. I really like the touch of, okay, now tell me this. When did Mrs. Danvers enter their life? Enter the life of Rebecca and Maxim? Like, was she, like, because here's the thing I was wondering, because Miss Rebecca is revealed to have been seeing this doctor for pretty much most of her life. Like, pre-meeting Maxim is what we get told, like in her London days, which was before Maxim. And she was using the name Danvers for that doctor the entire time. He never knew her as
Rebecca,
whatever her name was. Because I was waiting for the reveal to be like, oh, maiden name, of course. Because they're all looking for De Winter. But no, it was Danvers. She uses Mrs. Danvers' name as her alias. But it's like, how long has Mrs. Danvers been in the picture? I thought Rebecca, got Mrs. Danvers when she married him. But it sounds like Mrs. Danvers was a part of that package and deal with Rebecca before she got with Maxim. Because she's using the alias Mrs. Danvers for her doctor for like decades.
And presumably she would have gotten that name from Mrs. Danvers?
Mrs. Danvers or Mr. Danvers? You have to, it can't just be coincidental. And they make a big emphasis out of what? And they even ask her, what does she look like? Because is this Mrs. Danvers leading us astray? No, it is Rebecca. Like, this was Rebecca. He saw this doctor and all of that. And, boy, oh boy. And then, the reveal of like, you think that she got killed because, or died because she was showboating about being pregnant and you don't know who the father is and it's most likely not you and ha ha ha. And then she trips over and he has to hide the thing.
Did they mention how long she was married to Maxim for? Rebecca? And
I can't recall how long it was, but it made it feel like a good duration of time. Maybe not a huge amount, but like enough for you to feel like this resentment, because he had enough of a honeymoon phase of realizing that she was wicked.
And then I guess there was also enough time for, all of the stuff in the West Wing to
because she was
Christmas
like, you can't divorce me because we only just got married. Tee-hee. You'd be disgraced. Ha ha. Like, because divorce matters in the 40s, of course.
Yeah, so maybe
earlier as well. Like, the reputation would stain him. And then she's like bragging about like, I'm pregnant, haha, it's probably not yours. But I'm gonna make this bastard child, this child that's not yours, take over your family's legacy and pervert it. Haha, fucker. And then she dies, and then the reveal is that was a bluff on her part. She had cancer. She knew she had cancer, but that was the question the doctor had was she fooling herself still into believing that she was pregnant because she had a break from reality, or was she just that much of a manipulative bitch that when she found out she had cancer, she used the pregnancy card anyway to wind up those two men in her life? Because it was only the two men that knew about the pregnancy stuff, or knew hints of it, because Mrs. Danvers, she was completely like, no, this isn't it at all. She would have told me, of course. Raise eyebrow. Yeah. Now you're thinking about the timelines of things, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Is it an oversight, or is there actually like
no? I don't think it's an oversight. Like because they make such an emphasis on the Danvers name being used that I don't think that you can make it an oversight like that. I wonder if the book gets into it.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, in the shifting of everything, maybe the context got lost. I don't know.
I don't know. I found it quite powerful, actually. Yeah. I was like, because it made me think more about Mrs. Danvers. It made me think, like, how long has she been a part of the Rebecca life?
Yeah, longer than being at the mansion, clearly.
And she stays at the mansion because it's Rebecca's.
There is some.
It was never Maxim's, it's Rebecca's.
I can't remember who said. There was some character that was talking about Maxim's childhood, right? Wasn't her, was it?
I can't recall off the top of my head. You may be right. I can't recall.
I swear there was someone that said something like, oh, when the young Maxim was really young, this happened. And it felt like they had experience with that.
I would be surprised if it was Frith.
If it would be anyone, it would be the old guy. Yeah. But
yeah.
I'm not sure.
Even Crowley. Because they seemed like they were like childhood friends.
Maybe.
They had that kind of dynamic.
Interesting thing to think about when rewatching it.
No,
yeah.
I love this. I was a bit worried when watching the first half of it of like, oh, did I not pick a good movie for Spooky Month this year? I wanted to pick an older movie for Spooky Month, but then as it went along, I was like, nah, this is a good, like, I knew it was a gothic horror, and this is kind of like what I like about gothic horror stuff is like, you don't overtly need a ghost to be there. It's just the feeling, the oppressiveness, the claustrophobia, yet you have all of these opposing images to that, like
No,
these
I
open
agree.
spaces and these luscious mansions and the fields and the flowing dresses and all of that. But then I don't know, so there's something about that's just so constricting.
I mentioned before that there was a couple of things in this film that made me think this was a British film because it
Mhm.
wasn't tied to the Hays Code. One of them was a line really early on. I think it was the scene where he proposed to her in like his room, where he said something along the lines of like, "Oh, I know this wasn't really the ideal, proposal. We should have gone to." He said something along the lines of, "Oh, we should have gone to this kind of resort, and I would have made violent love to you behind a palm tree."
And he's saying that while in the other room getting changed.
Yeah, the violent love thing, I'm like, oh, okay, they weren't restricted, but no, that got in somehow.
I love, and this is just a product of the time. I'm not dumb. I know how language changed, but I loved how often they use the phrase "queer" in this movie, just to describe like when something was wrong or poorly. Like they were feeling queer. Oh, this is rather queer. I just thought it was very funny. These pompous British accents just constantly being like, right, what happened to Rebecca was quite queer. And I had a big smile on my face. I was like, yeah. This is just one of those like, hey, things have changed since this movie came out. And so I just had I know what they're saying, but I just had a laugh. I had an immature little chuckle once in a while when the doctor would say, yes, what was going on with her was quite queer. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Well, I guess we can say that in the end, that Mrs. Danvers character was a little bit queer.
Well, it's a little queer. Quite queer. Anything else you want to say about Rebecca? Any? Yes.
That dog was pretty cute.
It was a cute dog. That was a very cute little dog. I liked how it also had like ominous shots.
Yeah,
but it's still the cutest little dog.
The first time you see it, it's like sitting in front of the Rebecca's bedroom, and it's like at quite a distance away,
and you can't tell what it is.
I'm like, what is that? Like a little demon or something? There is that like not something that's not meant to be there. Then later on, when you get more close up shots, like, oh no, it's just a really cute little black dog.
It's a little doggy. Any thoughts now, or any further takes on Hitchcock on your end? Since you had only seen one film of his before, very different type of movie to this one, and you have the overall idea of Hitchcockian. But what did you feel about this, especially also because this is his, as we mentioned, first Hollywood film, so that is also like this is the start of an era for him, while Psycho was like at the height of the era of his Hollywood making.
I guess I'd need to see a non-Hollywood one first.
Yeah, but in terms of like Hitchcock, what are your feelings now, having now seen your second one, when it comes to his filmmaking style?
Yeah, I like that. We mentioned before how this isn't necessarily the most conventional like spooky film, but it feels very like low key. If this is how all of his films are, then that's definitely something I'd be into.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while since I've seen Psycho. I think that one might have been a bit more traditionally scary, but maybe. I'm not sure. It's been a while.
It had the music stings.
Yes.
Yeah, the classic.
I've heard that in a million things.
Of course. We've seen it a million times. Simpsons has done pretty much every scene from Psycho at one point. But no, I still appreciate Hitchcock. I still admire his filmmaking styles. The practice of how he made films was always fucked. Like every film he did, there's some behind the scenes trivia that makes it depressing to think about. Like this is one where we said it before we started recording this, but this is like a real Shining Shelley Duvall situation in which the main actress is miserable, made more miserable by the people who should be supporting them because of this false elusive idea of like, if we make them miserable, make the performance better because their character is supposed to be sad. And it's like, Joan Fontaine gave a great job, but like to her dying day, she said the loneliest she ever felt was on her birthday during this production in the set, and no one gave a shit. And it's just like, she went on to make another film with Hitchcock after this, and it won her an Oscar. Did you know she's the only actor/actress to ever win an Oscar in a Hitchcock production? She's the only one. No one else ever won one.
There you go. Yeah.
And, he never won Best Director for anything. Like, he never, like, again, that's one of those things that you got to consider. I think this one, like, got some accolades as well. But, like, yeah.
I mean, I guess one way of looking at it is, if you're such a great director, why go to the lengths of abusing your actor? That's not really best material, is it?
But it's an ideology. It's a mindset that people still have to this day.
I know. It's all based on, like, the quality of the film they made rather than the actual practices behind the scenes.
But it wasn't just him, too. Like, it all stemmed from Laurence Olivier treated her like shit because he wanted his then girlfriend, Vivian Leigh, who was the lead actress in, I'm pretty sure she was the lead in Gone with the Wind. But they didn't cast her. They cast this actress instead, and he just treated her like shit. His was pettiness. And then Hitchcock justified furthering that for artistic reasons. And it's just bullshit. And, like, Hitchcock is a notorious figure nonetheless when it comes to, like, his behaviors and the way he was and the horrible things he did. But he's still a filmmaker of great regard. Like, there's him and Kubrick and so many others. But it was that depressing thing of, like, you read the trivia for this movie and most of it is just very detailed ways of how these two men just made this production absolutely abhorrent to work on.
It just reminded me of, and this is going to be a bit of a topic change, but it was reminding me of some of the, in recent years, Jimquisition episodes, where they talk about, the crunch culture in gaming and how some of the takes that they had about this whole situation was like, even if it produced a great game, it wasn't worth it because of the harm that it, collaterally ensued thanks to the practice of how it was made. So it's that little question in my mind of, like, was it worth it?
To put it into even greater context of, like, this film came out in 1940, right? It's not been 100 years yet since this film has been released, but we're getting closer and closer,
85, I think, at this point.
Yeah, and Joan Fontaine was in her early 20s when she made this movie, and she died in her mid to late 90s. And she said till the very end that this was one of the most harmful, like, lonely experience, like being forced to be lonely experiences of her life. That's decades and decades of that type of attitude, and it didn't go away. And it's like, is Rebecca as a film good enough for an individual to feel that bad for so long? No. I like Rebecca, but it is one of those things where it's like, I made the mistake of reading the trivia before coming here. And it's just one of, it does sour. It does sour. It's like, is her performance great? Yeah, of course it is. But there's a level of, like, but that's just who she was because they made her that way. Would her performance have been better or worse if she actually got to be able to act it more than having to actually physically go through it? That's one of those huge debates that we can have for the end of time, but I just don't really think it's the most fruitful. I mean, Laurence Olivier gave a good performance. Did you have to make him marry someone he hated to do it? I don't think so. Like, these are the things.
Well, the trivia also mentioned that it was an extensive casting process where, like, almost 130 women went for the role. She's the one that got it, so presumably she could have done it without this, opportunistic, let's make her feel worse.
Yeah, and then whether it was because of contract or just whatever reasons, she did go on to work with him again and get an Oscar for it. I did like the trivia thing for her where she was really bummed that she didn't win the Oscar for this movie because this was, like, in her opinion, her best role, one of her best roles. And it's like, and then the trivia pointed out, I think it was on her personal trivia, pointed out then, but nonetheless, she went on to win her Oscar a year later. And it's like, oh no, I didn't win my Oscar a year later. Oh, I won my Oscar. But I didn't win it for that other one. Oh, well. But that is Rebecca. Please, people, watch the film for yourself if you haven't. There's still so much in this movie to look at and think about and feel. It's very good. Highly recommend. Bartek, I take you recommend as well?
I recommend it too, and yeah, the stuff that sours it a little bit, if you can get over that, it is a very good film.
Do you have... I know you may recommend it one day, but I'm just curious. Is there, like, a Hitchcock film in your mind that you are keen on checking out next? Like, is there one that you're like, I really want to see Birds?
I guess because of what I mentioned before, seeing that opening scene of Rear Window, that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be open to any of the big hitters. Maybe even just see the film version of North by Northwest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually know too much about the plot of Vertigo.
Oh, Vertigo's interesting.
I know the iconic visual thing, but I don't know too much about the plot of that one, so I think maybe it'd be between those three.
His two lead actors he would go to were Cary Grant and who was in North by Northwest, and Jimmy Stewart, who was in Rear Window. He would often go between those two guys as his two lead men.
Mm.
And it's very funny if you do get around to watching them, like how often you can see like, oh, this movie, he clearly wanted that one, but couldn't get them. So he just settled for that one. And I think Rear Window was a case of like, he wanted Cary Grant, but he got Jimmy Stewart. And it's just like, Jimmy Stewart's great though. But that movie, it's like, you have to believe that Jimmy Stewart's kind of a piece of shit because his character is kind of a horny piece of shit, but also like he's married like he's not married. He's like love interest, sexy blonde lady's trying to give him attention. He's like fobbing her off, and he's like, but it's also like it's Jimmy Stewart. He's like, he's a nice guy. You know, he was
he has been in some of the
he was
films,
Elwood P. Dowd in Harvey. By the way, the what was her name? Van Hooper in this movie, the really bitchy lady that she had main character had to look after in the first act.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It isn't her, but that actress really reminded me of the sister in the film Harvey, the one that has to put Elwood into the institution. She just physically and vocally reminded me of her, but it isn't. It is not her, but I was like, is that the same actress? She really reminds me of her, like much more over the top and snooty in this, but like really just different actress. But I looked it up. People often mistake the two. So I felt very good about that because it's like, even back in the old days, there were those actors where it's like, they look, you mistake these two for each other, huh? But Bartek, I know you're keen. What will be the listening people's choice for Spooky Month? Do you have a suspicion? We have a lot of spooky movies, horror films.
I haven't checked the list recently, so I don't know what it's going to be.
I feel like it's only fair because we did a Stefan pick recently, Uncharted. I think it's only fair to do the other half of that recommendation coin, which is Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda recommended Train to Busan. Which is a horror film set on a train. And I thought we should do that for the next film for Spooky Month. Amanda's recommendation. Her and Stefan are friends of Bartek's, and both of them recommended a lot of movies around the same time. And they both had a lot of, I also recommend that type films. And
I turned to a lot of people in my friend group like, hey, anyone got recommendations? And the two of them were like, we're the ones who have all the recommendations.
And now we're getting around to Train to Busan. So I've never seen it. I know of it, but I've never seen this
I've
film.
heard the name.
Heard the name, but not seen it. I can't remember if it's Japanese or Korean. I can't remember which. Where's Busan? That's a place. It's a train to there, Bartek.
I don't know. That doesn't sound too Asian to me, but
maybe. But we shall find out more about this train to Busan. Do you know where it is? Please let us know. We will go there on a train. But that is all we have for you.
Oh, it is in South Korea.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Shit.
But we shall be back to talk about the Train movie next time.
Choo choo.
Choo choo. Thomas the Tank Engine starring Alec Baldwin next time.
The Busan Limited.
The Busan Limited. Could you imagine? We'll talk about it next time. Could you imagine if we watch this movie we're about to watch and then Owen Wilson and Adrian Brody and the gang and all of that and not Shah Rukh Khan, Irfan Khan and all of that rock up in the middle of it to do their little Indian drama? I love that. We're here too.
Oh, good. I like this film already, and Ryan already kind of doesn't really care for it.
There you are. Hey, I went from hating it to slightly not caring for that one.
But now it's going to be horror.
Yeah, now it's a horror. Now I love it. But until then, listening people, you can find us on social medias, Facebook and Twitter. You can email us at spitandpolished@gmail.com with your questions, queries, concerns, and recommendations. We add your recommendations to a list, and we eventually get around and cover them on the show. Please give us your film suggestions. We have... The remainder of the year is still ticking away and would love older film suggestions from any of you. There's only a few spots left, so we'd really appreciate any older film recommendations, but they don't have to be older films. They can just be films, so we'll get to them.
You know,
as long as we can find them is always the thing I can say.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx it, but I checked yesterday, and if we do not miss a single week until the end of the year, I think the Christmas episode will be Listening Peoples.
Oh, Yeah.
But if we do miss one, it'll be Ryan's.
Oh.
So
I'm not
Ryan's like,
saying-
what's a week off that we can do?
Week off, you say?
What's 2 weeks off we can do? No.
It will be another foreign one for you, I think, too.
I can't remember.
I
but
think
yeah,
it will.
Maybe.
But no, that's the future. The future. But no, thank you all so much for being here. Until next time, listening people, remember to be kind to each other. Don't you be naughty out there. Don't you act queer now, okay?
But that's just Ryan's opinion. I'm fine with you acting queer. It's not a big deal for me.
Politics an ally. Yeah, let's just keep it on that. The truth. Politics an ally.
You said the truth. So I'm like, let's end the episode on the truth.